afternoon, I'm Mai Rodriguez. Today on Newsfeed at noon, going straight to business, President Bongbong Marcos wants answers over corruption allegations, hounding billions of pesos worth of flood control projects. All eyes on the Senate today as pressure mounts to pursue the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. In sports, the struggle is real for Gilas Pilipinas as they begin their campaign in the FIBA Asia Cup. And it's almost showtime for Into the Woods as the local cast of the hit musical gears up for its red carpet affair. Thanks for joining us. President Bongbong Marcos is fuming over corruption that's eating up government funds intended for infrastructure projects. After threatening action against budget insertions for ghost flood control projects, Mr. Marcos is now challenging contractors and their co-conspirators, saying they know who they are. The president admitted that some names are already in the government's hands. PBBM also promised to press charges against anyone who can't explain where the money went. He made it clear no one is above the law, even his allies.
And the worst part of this all, yung napupunta, kuminsan yung mga project na hindi maganda, napupunta sa unappropriated. Ano yun? Utang yun. Nangungutang tayo para mangurakot itong mga ito. Sobra na yun. Sobra na yun.
Senator Erwin Tulfo exposes alleged ties of congressmen who served as either suppliers or contractors of DPWH flood control projects. As Hannity reports, the senator is also very concerned about massive funds stuck in incomplete projects dominated by a single company.
At least 10 congressmen are government contractors. That's according to Senator Erwin Tulfo, who's now raising the alarm on what could be a web of corruption in DPWH flood control projects.
Sa info ko, hindi ko sila kilala lahat, pero meron mga contractor kongresista. Probably 10 siguro, mga 10 or more.
This after President Bongbong Marcos pointed out failed flood control projects in his recent SONA and how lawmakers may be involved. Tulfo says the problem runs deep, with some congressmen allegedly profiting off public funds, while projects remain stalled or unfinished. Even worse, he claims a single contractor cornered projects worth 20 billion each in Oriental and Occidental Mindoro. This, he says, is why PBBM ordered a hold on flood control fund releases flagged for irregularities.
20 billion sa Oriental, 20 billion sa Occidental, lumobo, and unfortunately, lumalabas, isa lang ang kontraktor. Isang kumpanya lang.
Should the Senate carry out an investigation, Tulfo says it's up to the involved officials to show up, since Congress observes parliamentary courtesy.
Pwede na sabihin nyo, teka muna, ayaw naman namin pumunta dyan. Ano ito, bastusan, baka ganun eh. Baka mapahiya naman kami. Nasa kanila kung gusto nilang mag-appear.
Tulfo also confirmed that DPWH Undersecretary Roberto Bernardo has taken a 3-month leave amid an ongoing investigation. Senator Mai Marcos earlier mentioned he may have been kicked out of the department. Tulfo believes more high-ranking officials will be removed soon.
Pero may mga masisibak po, definitely. May masisibak.
You know,
that's one thing for sure. May masisibak ng mga USEC, may masisibak ng mga ASEC, may masisibak ng mga RD, may masisibak ng mga DE.
Tulfo describes a systemic modus. Cuts of up to 45% are allegedly taken from each project to pay off regional and district officials and local politicians. As a result, many projects are barely 20% complete or never even started. As of this report, DPWH has yet to issue a statement. Hannity, Billionario News Channel.
Senator Risa Ontiveros reveals the GSIS allegedly invested 1 billion pesos in an online gambling platform. In her privileged speech Tuesday, the Senate Deputy Minority Leader says e-gambling platform DigiPlus is a supposed recipient of the government funds. She explains the shares were bought at 65 pesos per piece, which have since dropped to 13 pesos. Ontiveros asks her fellow senators to look into the matter as it could only be the tip of the iceberg.
In the first place, what was GSIS thinking? Investing funds in online gambling. Tayo nga po, mga kasamang nagtatrabaho sa gobyerno, hindi pwedeng tumuntong sa casino. Lalo na, hindi pwedeng magsugal doon. Kaya, bakit ang GSIS naman todo taya at ginawang puhunan ang pera ng public employee sa sugalan?
All eyes are on the Senate today as pressure mounts to pursue the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. But with a Supreme Court ruling hanging over their heads, lawmakers remain sharply divided. Hannah T is there and she's joining us live for the details. Hannah, what's happening there?
Mai, ahead of what could be a historical Senate session this afternoon, protesters gathered outside the Senate premises to urge lawmakers to push through with the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. The Supreme Court has already declared the impeachment void, saying it violated the one-year bar rule and lack of due process. The ruling is immediately executory, but the House filed a motion for reconsideration, now pending. Protesters say VP Sara's trial must continue, and they hope that senators must remember their constitutional mandate to try and decide on the impeachment case. But inside the Senate, lawmakers are split. 4 senators, including Risa Ontiveros and Bam Aquino, say the trial should wait for the move of the Supreme Court regarding the House's MR. About 20 are reportedly in favor of following the Supreme Court ruling. Senator Mai Marcos warned that defying the immediately executory clause of the SC could turn the ruling into a meaningless temporary restraining order. Senator Ping Lacson says he agrees with the court but found the House motion legally compelling. And as preparation for later session, Senator Bato de la Rosa said he read the full decision twice, and though he's open to debate, he believes the Senate should obey the court. It was de la Rosa who first moved to dismiss the complaint when they convened as an impeachment court last June. Senator Erwin Tulfo, meanwhile, maintains that the public deserves to see the evidence in full trial. Meanwhile, despite earlier plans to bar media from covering inside the plenary later, the Senate has allowed journalists to enter following pushback from Ontiveros in yesterday's session. Mai?
Hannah, kahapon may nagprotesta din sa Supreme Court as a group filed an MR, motion for reconsideration, challenging the Supreme Court ruling. Now, does the Senate already have an agenda for the session later today, or impeachment lang ang pag-uusapan?
That's a good question. Actually, wala pang agenda ang Committee on Rules for today, but Committee Chair and Senator Joel Villanueva earlier said ito po ay magiging priority, itong impeachment, at so far, yun pa lang daw yung nasa kanilang planong pag-usapan mamaya sa 3 p.m. session. Back to you, Mai.
Alright, maraming salamat. Hannah T reporting live from the Senate. As the Senate weighs in on her impeachment, Vice President Sara Duterte is nowhere in sight. But her office insists she's working behind the scenes and staying hands-on. Joan Manalo will tell us more on the phone. Joan, what's the latest?
The office of the Vice President says it had no verified information on the whereabouts of Vice President Sara Duterte amid the Senate's looming decision on whether her impeachment will proceed. The Senate is expected to decide today on whether to continue the impeachment process against VP Sara following the Supreme Court's ruling declaring the articles of impeachment unconstitutional. OVP spokesperson Ruth Castelo says the Vice President may not be physically present, but claims she remains actively involved in her duties. Castelo shares that VP Sara is hands-on in reviewing projects and programs under the OVP, even down to scrutinizing figures in their official reports. According to Costello, Duterte also personally comments on their projects as well as on their press releases and statements issued by the office. This comes as VP Sara's ratings dipped in a recent Okta survey. Her trust rating dropped from 58 to 54%, while her performance rating fell by 6 points from 56 to 50%. Despite this, Costello insists that the Vice President and her office will continue their work with or without surveys, but will exert even more effort in light of the results. VP Sara was not present at President Bongbong Marcos' State of the Nation address last July 28, but reportedly returned to the country that same day. She then traveled to Marinduque for an outreach program of the OVP's Disaster Operations Center to aid victims of the southwest monsoon and 3 recent tropical cyclones that affected various areas in the country. Mai.
Thank you, Joan Manalo, reporting to us from Mandaluyong. Today is Farm Worker Appreciation Day, but instead of celebrating, Filipino farmers are sounding the alarm. They want the rice tariffication law revoked, blaming it for crushing local rice prices and livelihoods. Joan Manalo returns with this story.
Repeal the rice tariffication law. This is the call of Kilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas chairperson and former Danilo Ramos. He says the law has been a burden to rice farmers and the entire rice industry since it was implemented in 2019.
Grabe ang epekto sa loob ng mahigit 5 taon ng full liberalization ng bigas. Ang katunayan, number 1 na tayo sa pag-import ng bigas sa buong mundo.
Because imported rice is cheaper, local farmers struggle to compete and sell their harvest. With this, rice farmer Tony Cordero is also pleading to put an end to rice importation. Tatay Tony has been farming in Plaridel, Bulacan for 30 years.
Kung kapos tayo po pwede. Kung hindi naman, bakit paangkat? Ayun nga, magkakalkala tayo ng karibal pa ako kalaban. Kung meron naman tayong inaani, sapat-sapat naman yung inaani natin para sa atin. Ba't pa tayo aangkat?
Currently, Tatay Tony sells his palay for just 10 pesos per kilo, and he considers himself lucky if the price reaches 14 to 15 pesos per kilo. According to Mon Tulfo, his brother Senator Erwin Tulfo is planning to propose amendments to the rice tariffication law. Senator Tulfo had earlier expressed his desire to restore the National Food Authority's mandate to buy palay directly from local farmers and sell rice at affordable prices. This mandate was removed under the rice tariffication law. But for Ramos,
mamili siya diretso sa mga rice farmers sa baryo na hindi bababa sa 20 pesos skin dry at ibig sabihin niya 20 pesos at the minimum. At bili ng NFA ang 20 to 25% ng total palay production. Meron kasing pinagmamagaling ngayon yung gobyerno. Bumibili daw ang NFA ng palay. Hindi yun maramdaman ng magsasaka.
according to the Presidential Communications Office, the Department of Agriculture has recommended an increase in tariffs on imported rice and a temporary halt to rice imports. This will be discussed by President Bongbong Marcos and his cabinet on the sidelines of his state visit to India. Farmers Group Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG is in favor of the DA's plan to reinstate the 35% tariff for ASEAN imports and 50% tariff for non-ASEAN imports. SINAG is also urging PBBM to immediately request the passage of a law that will revert rice import tariffs while the Congress is still in session. Farmers say the situation will only worsen if palay prices continue to drop. Tatay Tony also calls on the national government to provide additional support for farmers like him.
Ang mahal-mahal ng patalo kung mga sa gobyerno manggagaling, gaya ngayon wala pa yung libreng pataba, pondohan nila na mas maganda. Para yung magsasaka, makaalan sa hirap.
Farmers have long called for strengthening local palay production in the country. Now they challenge the DA and the Marcos Jr. administration to provide genuine support to the agricultural sector, which they believe should be the country's priority. Joan Manalo, Billionario News Channel.
In response, President Bongbong Marcos has just ordered a 60-day suspension on rice imports effective September 1st. Tragedy in Arizona, where a fiery plane crash kills at least 4 people. Police say the medical transport aircraft just took off from the airport when it went down in flames. The plane was headed to a nearby hospital to pick up a patient. An investigation has been launched to find out the cause of the crash. Silence marks Tuesday morning in Japan as the nation marks the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombing in Hiroshima. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba led the ceremony, reminding the world of the horrors unleashed after the U.S. dropped the bomb on August 6, 1945. He also offered his condolences to the victims and their families.
80年前の今日
What happened on that day 80 years ago under the mushroom cloud? The city was reduced to ash, the people were charred black, and those who had been living happily just moments before were turned into shadows in an instant by the 4,000-degree heat. Most of the victims were ordinary citizens. I was speechless at the thought that people's dreams and bright futures had been ruthlessly taken away in an instant. We must never repeat the devastation brought upon Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Around 140,000 were killed not just by the atomic blast, but also months and years later by the radiation. The Prime Minister says it is Japan's mission to take the lead toward a world without nuclear weapons. The White House forming a task force for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles. President Donald Trump says this will ensure the Summer Games are safe, seamless, and successful. The 2028 Games will be the first Olympics to be hosted by the United States since the 2002 Winter Games in Salt Lake City, Utah.
The LA Olympics is shaping up to be a wonderful moment for America. It's going to be incredible. It's so exciting. America is a nation of champions, and in July 2028, we'll show the world what America does best, and that's win. We're winning like we have never won before. You see that all the time. A year ago, we were not a country that was doing well, and now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world.
Up next, the Filipino cast of Into the Woods trade costumes for couture as they hit the red carpet tonight. That story and more when Newsfeed at noon returns. In sports, a rough start for Gilas Pilipinas in the FIBA Asia Cup in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The men's national team lost their opening game against Chinese Taipei early this morning, 95-87. Naturalized star Justin Brownlee led the Philippines with 19 points, but he fouled out midway through the endgame. Kevin Kiambao added 17 points in only 16 minutes of play. In the post-game press conference, Gilas head coach Tim Cohn concedes the team's performance was subpar.
Obviously, we didn't play a very good one. Disappointed in the way we played. We got behind early in the game and just played on our heels the whole way. It was like we were in panic mode for 40 minutes. But if Chinese Taipei continues to play like they did and make the shots that they're making, then they can be one of the guys that gets a medal, without a doubt.
Gilas returns to action on Thursday, August 7 against New Zealand at 11 p.m. Manila time. It's almost showtime for the local staging of the hit musical Into the Woods. The cast will have a red carpet affair later at the Samsung Performing Arts Theater in Makati. Broadway star Lea Salonga leads the star-studded ensemble alongside actress/comedian Eugene Domingo, singer Mark Bautista, and Philam Blues Clues star Josh De La Cruz. This will also be the Philippine stage debut of Lea's only child, Nick Chen. Night 1 begins Thursday, August 7. Her story for Lady Gaga ahead of this year's MTV Video Music Awards nominations with a total of 12. This makes her the most nominated artist. Mother Monster got half of the nominations for her song Abracadabra alone. Bruno Mars, whom Gaga teamed up with for the hit Die With a Smile, is right behind her with 11 nominations. Other big names in the running include Blackpink's Rosé, Sabrina Carpenter, Kendrick Lamar, and Ariana Grande. The 2025 VMAs air September 7. Filipinos are stepping up literally as the 10,000 steps a day craze gains ground. But over the weekend, joggers and bikers drew criticism for doing their rounds at the UP Oval just as thousands of students took the UPCAT. Kian Querol reports.
Every week for 2 days, Sara Caringal's morning grind starts from Rizal Province all the way to the UP Oval in Diliman to perform her routine exercise. She says the ambience motivates her to work out.
Kami na nakakapag-exercise, yung other things na pwede namin gawin dito, nagiging efficient kami. And anong tawag dito, parang malaking bagay siya sa amin dahil there's no need for us to pay.
As a fun run goer, there's more to it than what meets the eye for Sara. It is also for the good of her health.
Pero sa kabuuan, syempre for my own good, sa health ko, na para malakas pa din. Di ba kasi yung exercise? Yung nakaupo ka lang.
Ever since, there were already people using the UP Oval as a place for exercise like Sara. But the issue arose when it coincided with UP's college admission test or UPCAT last weekend. Several discussions were held online on how to provide solutions. Some UP students said to be mindful, especially during UPCAT.
Well, it's open naman for all people outside students for it to be a an area to work out. Tingin ko kailangan may limit pa rin talaga.
Kulang din kasi tayo ng facilities na pwedeng maglakad. And yung UP kasi maganda kasi maraming puno, ganun. So hindi siya masyadong mainit. So parang maganda nga rin na mag-focus ng mga areas para mas ma-encourage yung mga Pilipino na mag-exercise.
PBBM mentioned in his fourth SONA that cities should open parks and plazas, encouraging the public to exercise outside more.
Magpatupad tayo ng mga car-free Sunday tulad ng ginagawa sa ilang lungsod na dito sa Metro Manila, sa Baguio, sa Cebu, pati sa Iloilo at Davao. Bilang pagsuporta rito, simula ngayon, bubuksan ng Philippine Sports Commission sa publiko ang kanilang mga track and field oval sa Pasig, Maynila at Baguio upang makapag-jogging na kayo ng libre.
On social media, netizens say there is a glaring lack of safe public spaces where people can work out. A concern echoed by Al Christian and Veronica.
Para sa everyday lives natin, lalo dito sa Manila, di ba, super congested ng traffic, and parang surrounded talaga tayo sa mga big buildings, especially lalo na dito sa Manila, sobrang daming malls.
If you're going to compare some other countries, makikita mo na sa kanila may mga sidewalk, merong mga talagang place to run. Hindi katulad dito na parang kailangan mo pumunta sa isang lugar para makatakbo.
Sure, there are other places to run, but nothing beats the UP Oval when it comes to accessibility.
A lot of people, di ba, they run here sa UP. So dapat meron din tayong other options na pwede tayong takbuhan. Hindi lang naman dito, lalo na parang dumadami na population natin. So eventually, di ba, parang imagine if lahat tayo dito na tumakbo. Maganda siguro na mag-start din talaga sa taas natin na parang sila yung mag-initiate.
But for those planning to enter their running era, there are a number of places in the metro that you can check out. Here in Quezon City Memorial Circle, at the San Juan City Hall and Shrine, at the PSC Arena located in Pasig, inside the streets of BGC, and at the Circuit Makati. You may also want to join the Rockwell Run Club. And if those places do not fit your schedule, take note that each first weekend of the month, Tomas Morato in QC provides a carless day for runners. So what are you waiting for? Let's run G. Kian Quirol, Billionario News Channel.
Italy is famed for its cuisine, fashion, and romantic getaways. But for Manny and Jinky Pacquiao, their Italian vacation turned into a little adventure. The couple shared their unexpected hiking side quest after lunch in Positano, a cliffside town along the Amalfi Coast. On Instagram, Manny says he's lucky he's still in condition following his boxing match last month. But as for Jinky, let's just say the stairs may have been a bit much. But the reward, a picturesque view at the top.
Okay. Ayun na.
This is it.
Banat kita ni. Morning.
Okay.
Exercise nga kuan.
Okay.
Grabe.
Ikaw pasta, pizza. So.
Look at this view. Okay, I'm gonna turn around and then like that. So, see? Oh, grabe. Grabe. Grabe yung... Yan. Ah, nakita yung ano? Ayun o. Oh. Mountain. There.
View. It wasn't all stairs and sweat for Manny and Jinky. The Filipino boxing legend even stopped for a selfie with an Italian chef on the way up. The 46-year-old former senator is fresh off a draw against WBC welterweight champ Mario Barrios. Cignal is real. And those are the news this hour. I'm Mai Rodriguez. Stay with the Billionaire News Channel. Good afternoon.